hanging rock. Whether Ned Kelly was a coward or Christopher Skase was innocent. Join us then on a mystery tour into the heart of this great country. You're the driver, Barry Jones. Can you drive?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, well, terrific. That's more than most Australian tour bus drivers. Your brochure says it's the Knowledge Nation tour. You've just arrived in Australia, Bill Bryson, jet-lagged, your first visit. Probably don't even know the name of our Prime Minister.
It's Bob Hawke, surely.
You're a little behind the times. Let's, you better ask the fellow sitting next to you.
Could you name your Prime Minister, please?
Apparently he's called the Honourable John Howard.
You're the real John Howard. The other guy's an imposter.
I'm without doubt twice the man and twice the stature as our Prime Minister.
What have you got in your backpack, Bill Bryson? You've heard that the first stop is down at Portsea for a swim at Cheviot Beach. You're going to take a towel?
I take it you're making a reference to your disappearing Prime Minister.
Harold Hall.
Harold Hall.
You do know the name of Australia's Prime Minister. Well, you won't need any sunscreen. This is Victoria. What have you heard about Australian snakes?
Oh, I know that you have the most lethal snakes in the whole of the world.
What?
You do indeed.
Of the 10 most deadly species in the world, how many are Australian?
I can't remember. Is it 7, at least?
According to your book, all 10. I guess your researcher wrote that page.
Just because you write a book doesn't mean you memorize it.
We used to have snakes that were 10 times the size of Bronwyn Bishop and twice as poisonous. We used to have great goannas. How big were they, Dr. Flannery?
Well, the largest may have been up to 7 metres long and weighed a couple of tonnes. So they were quite substantial animals.
And lions?
We had a marsupial that was a leopard-sized carnivore, so I would have preferred that to the giant goannas, I think.
And what happened to all these amazing animals that were native Australians?
Well, we've just discovered that they all died out 46,400 years ago, give or take a couple of thousand years.
How did they die out? How did they become extinct?
I think they were just hunted out by the first people to arrive in Australia.
Hunting, not climate change?
No, hunting. I think the climate change came afterwards as a result of the hunting.
Of course, just because a species hasn't been seen for a couple of hundred years doesn't necessarily mean it's extinct, does it?
No, although in a place like Australia, you've got a fair idea.
But it may not. You'll keep your eyes peeled.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that the bus hits on the way through, I'll be out there skinning it and...
You'll need a window seat, I suppose.
Near the door, yes.
There's one left. Dawn Casey's eyeing it too. You better dive for it. Dawn Casey, is your museum more interesting than his museum?
Absolutely. Without a doubt, it's much more.
You've got a Hills hoist and a Victor motor mower. Well, what's interesting about those?
Very interesting.
In every backyard.
Farlap's Heart, even, we've got.
Farlap's Heart? But Farlap is a New Zealander, after all.
Well, you know, there's some things that we've got to keep from New Zealand.
Azaria's baby clothing on exhibit. That's a bit macabre. Can you imagine the Smithsonian Museum in Washington exhibiting Monica Lewinsky's blue dress? What's that going to mean to future generations of Americans?
I can't imagine.
Remind them of primitive methods of birth control? Is this the sort of museum that you'd want to visit in Canberra, Rusty Priest, or would you stick with the War Memorial?
I think I'd probably go with the War Memorial. There's lessons to be learned, there's mistakes to learn from, and there's a lot of our rich military history there.
Strikes you there's something in your office that you're about to get rid of it, but it might be worth something. It's the RSL's very first poker machine. Maybe Dawn Casey would be interested in buying it.
Would love to draw that link to the RSL Club.
Reverend Costello, you're sitting beside Rusty Priest. You're a trustee of the National Museum. Do you have anything to say to Dawn Casey before she buys this poker machine?
Don't. The poker machines, Dawn, are consuming almost as many as perhaps died in war. Maybe as a relic like guns and tanks are, but I don't think it's an icon of honour.
But it is an object in Australia, and it is part of history. I mean, there's no doubt that people are playing on poker machines. Are you suggesting that I rewrite history, Reverend Costello?
Oh, absolutely not. Leave that to me.
Barry Jones, one of the policy objectives of Knowledge Nation, I gather, is to bring expatriates back home. Their country needs them.
Absolutely. We certainly want to create a kind of intellectually exciting and vibrant society that would bring people like Germaine Greer back.
Well, yeah, as it happens, you see that she's getting on the bus. Delighted to have her. Unfortunately, there are no seats left. She'll have to stand. You've overbooked again. Unless, Rusty Priest, you're a gentleman. Would you give up your seat for the lady?
I most certainly would. Germaine, it's all yours.
But I couldn't possibly take it.
But I couldn't possibly exist because I'm sure that my Irish grandmother would look down and say you did not give a seat up to a lady.
Well, if you gave it up to me, you wouldn't be giving it up to a lady. Let's be clear about that.
Anthony Mundine, you're getting on the bus. They've put you, it's an old Australian custom, down the back. Seat next to the toilet. Feel at home?
Yeah, I feel at home. I drink a lot, so I need to go.
You're the man. Will the man give up his seat for the woman?
Babe, you can have my seat if you want.
I'll accept it on one condition, that you sit on my knee.
Well, it's either her knee or the toilet.
I'll take the knee.
You'll take the knee. You're... There you go, Germaine Greer. You're back in Australia.
Scored already.
Yes. And the bus hasn't even got going yet.
It'll be a long night.
Next on Hypothetical, an old digger risks a bit of mouth-to-mouth.
Lead to the start of something big.
I doubt that very much.
Our American visitor gets into difficulties, and John Howard becomes a superstar.
People would accost me as I entered coal.
This 7 News Update is brought to you by the No Regrets Home Loan. Make it happen.
Through the streets of Melbourne. You actually do guided tours through the streets of Melbourne, don't you?
I do.
Reverend Costello? Pointing out the landmarks and the social dynamics of them with the help of Bible quotations.
That's right.
Well, we're just passing the first federal parliament. What biblical quotation do you use there? Sodom and Gomorrah?
Probably the temptation scene on the mountain when Satan said, all of this can be yours, just worship me. Power and the illusion and seduction of power, I think.
Mm-hmm. We're passing the Melbourne Club. Is there anything about the Melbourne Club in the Bible?
Men only.
Blessed are the rich, for they shall inherit the earth.
That's right.
Well, you've just been offered this morning, Dawn Casey, the secret membership rules of the Melbourne Club. Something you'd want to exhibit? No women, no blacks. You can be Jewish, so long as you don't go the whole hog. Would you?
I think we would. Yes,
you would exhibit those?
Absolutely. It's so much part of Australian society, the Melbourne Club.
Howard Sattler, you've just been made a member of the Melbourne Club.
In my dreams. Take a long parts anyway.
Oh, well, there's a provocative statement for you. You're broadcasting this morning. You've arranged while the tour bus stops for lunch. You're doing the Howard Sattler Hour from a studio near Portsea. First caller, a fellow called Bruce. He says, Howard, this government, it's a threat to our civil liberties. Howard?
I agree.
You agree? Howard,
all governments are.
All this business about the Melbourne Club and sex discrimination, I wouldn't allow any of those refos in my truck.
Now look, Mr. Ruxton.
Are you going to keep him talking. It's a pretty low-rating program.
You got that right. I'll definitely keep him talking.
Definitely keep him talking. Let his racist views hit the airwaves.
Absolutely, it's a democracy.
The tour bus has stopped for lunch at a typical Australian restaurant, McDonald's. Over the radio system, Tanley, it's tuned to the Howard Sattler Hour. There's a public telephone there. Would you think of ringing Howard?
I'd give Howard a call straight away.
You're not worried you might be bumping up the ratings of his program by engaging in provocative talk?
Oh, no, if it's that badly rated, I don't mind. I'll just give him a call.
Wouldn't it be easier to get Anthony Mundine to punch him on the nose?
Yes, Anthony, I'll give you a call as well, actually.
Right. Well, you get back on the bus. The bus goes on to Cheviot Beach. It's a beautiful day. The flags are up. Feel like putting your toe in the water, Bill Bryson? And they've taught you, haven't they, what to do when you get into a rip? What's the signal?
Oh, you wave your arm language.
How? Show us.
So, like that.
He's waving to you, Anne. Is he waving or drowning?
Hard to tell, but I could just imagine the delicious story, the news story that this could be.
Bill Bryson goes under, down under.
Yes. However, he needs help too, though.
It's only 10 paces to the water. It's 200 paces to the lifeguard who's got his back turned getting Germaine Greer's autograph. While you're all discussing what to do, a young man, Middle Eastern appearance, rushes past you, jumps into the water, breasts the waves, grabs Bill Bryson, the drowning author, and strokes back to the beach. He needs artificial respiration badly. Rusty Priest, would you give him the kiss of life?
Yes.
It could lead to the start of something big.
I doubt that very much.
Would you give him the kiss of life, Howard Sattler?
Absolutely, but I do it slowly because the Channel 7 crew haven't arrived yet.
And when they do arrive, they ask you to do it again. He's quite alive. Would you do it again?
As many times as they wanted.
As many times. You're being kissed to death.
But I said I didn't want to go in the water.
What are you going to do for this man who saved your life? He tells you his name is Yusuf. He's from Iraq. He's a legal refugee. He's a skilled engineer, worked on Saddam Hussein's oil field, so he's been given permission to stay. What he'd really like to do is join the tour.
I have absolutely no objection to that.
No objection? You wouldn't have any objection, Anthony Mundine? He's a brother in Islam.
He'll be at the back with me.
Right. You're on Germaine's knee. On goes the bus, up the Hume Highway towards Glenrowan. It's a fairly boring trip, John Howard. You're reading the scripts that your agent has sent.
Fantastic.
And you play a kind of Australian legend.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who robbed from the rich, who was very popular in his time, who hid away from the police. It's based on Pixie's memoirs.
Right. Yep.
Other actors have been assigned. Amanda Van Stone is being played by Magda Zabansky. Darren Hinch is played by Darren Hinch.
I mean,
it does rewrite history a little. There's a trial scene. Skase is acquitted. It's a dream sequence, but it's very realistic. You could be changing people's perceptions.
Yes, that's wonderful, isn't it? It's always best to keep an open mind, I think.
So with you playing Christopher Skase, in due course they'll rename that resort at Port Douglas Skase Lands. They'll buy the breathing mask for the National Museum. You're going to make this guy some sort of Australian hero.
Yes, I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted to play Skase as a hero, and I would hope that it would create a huge ruckus, and the show would become incredibly popular as a result, and that people would accost me as I entered Coles.
Coming up, Germaine Greer goes dirty dancing.
God, you wouldn't want to go to a dance with no bad men at it, would you?
And will our passengers ever remember the name of that mystery man?
What was his name? Do you remember it, Rusty?
No.
Do you remember it?
No, I don't.
Do you remember it? What was his name? Ladies and gentlemen, Ned Kelly was hanged at old Melbourne jail. His body, when it was cut down from the noose, the head was cut off. The body itself lay on the police morgue table and was dissected by medical students from Melbourne University. They took out his vital organs. Ned Kelly's heart, preserved in formaldehyde, went missing. It went missing, and it's now been found. And it's up at auction at Sotheby's. Minister, what can we do?
We can invoke current legislation to prevent it being purchased by an overseas buyer at auction.
You did that with Ned Kelly's armour.
Correct.
And of course, if you did it for his armour, the heart is far more significant, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
There's a saying the servicemen had for years as game as Ned Kelly. So I would love to see it alongside Farlap because you've got two Australian icons. And Farlap was game and so was Ned Kelly.
Dawn Casey, the sort of thing you'd be bidding for?
Well, maybe.
Of course, there's a lot of overseas interest. Billionaires want it on their mantelpiece, all keen to obtain Ned Kelly's heart.
And all prevented from doing so.
Well, they would, except that it's up for auction at Sotheby's in London. But perhaps you can put the National Museum in funds to buy it. They expect it to go for about $1 million. That's one day's federal MP's travelling expenses. Do you find it odd, Bill Bryson, that Australians should want Ned Kelly's heart? It's a fairly small heart.
It is something of a mystery to outsiders, the great attachment that Australians have to Ned Kelly. I can't pretend to understand the affection with which he's held.
He was a horse thief who killed 3 policemen in cold blood. They'd execute him immediately in Texas today, wouldn't they?
Yes, of course.
Does Ned Kelly do anything for you, Germaine Greer? Sort of man you'd invite to a barn dance?
There's something to be said for people who actually break the law, especially when they represent an oppressed group. People from the fringes of English society, and then they come to Australia and find themselves under the same bosses that they ran away from in Europe. And so Ned Kelly becomes the emblem of the thing we didn't dare to do. Still a lawbreaker and still a bad man, but God, you wouldn't want to go to a dance with no bad men at it, would you?
I don't know. Tan Lee, would you like to go to a dance with no bad men at it?
No, definitely not.
You escaped from pirates and communists and you've come to a country whose
right, but I think
national hero is an
Jermaine's
outlaw.
idea of a bad man is a bit different.
Aha, what's your idea of a bad man?
Someone a bit like Anthony.
And he's on Germaine's knee.
That's exactly.
Ned Kelly's heart is going under the hammer. It's $2.5 million. You've got a mobile phone, Dawn Casey. There's a mystery bidder bidding against you. It's a popular thing electorally. You may have to go up to $4 million.
Well, Minister, we're only 5 weeks away from an election. Don't you think it's a good idea? Another $2 million.
Yes, on one condition, which is it never be displayed.
But it's not the view of the majority of voters. They want to see Ned Kelly's heart. That's what the focus groups and opinion polls are telling you.
Oh, in that case, there's no conditions.
The heart is knocked down for $5 million to the mystery purchaser. Barry Jones, you're having a drink in the Glenrowan Inn. It was the school teacher at Glenrowan, wasn't it, who betrayed Ned Kelly, got a lantern and ran up the track, saved 30 policemen from death when the train would have been derailed, and that led them to capture Ned Kelly.
Yes.
What was his name?
Aaron Sharrett. No.
No, he was the one who was shot by Joe Byrne.
Yes.
What was his name, Minister?
To my shame, I don't remember the genuine hero of the Kelly legend like 99.9%
Do you
of other
remember it,
Australians.
Jermaine?
Not at all, no.
Do you remember it, Rusty?
No.
An Australian hero. Do you remember it?
No, I don't. And,
Do you remember it?
No, but he was a dobber.
He was a dobber. You've got it. He was a dobber, Barry Jones. You were once a school teacher. Would you have done what Thomas Curnow did and dobbed?
Regrettably, and although I knew the consequences would be the imposition of the death penalty on Ned Kelly when he was captured, I think, yes, I'd have felt compelled to do it.
Mm-hmm. Even though you would be blotted out of the national consciousness.
When we return, things are getting a bit too cosy.
We're in a double bed at the moment, Rusty and I, but I'm on the floor and you're in the bed.
John Howard explains the laws of nature.
All of human knowledge is retained and told by humans, not bandicoots.
And Miss Fullwood is bound by her professional ethics.
In the interests of my journalistic integrity, I'd feel just a bit...
What's that?
Commodore Series 2, for the driver in you.
This is incredible. My Neutrogena cleanser, toner and moisturiser used together reduce the appearance of my pores in just 2 weeks.
New Neutrogena pore refining range.
And smaller pores mean smoother, finer, more beautiful skin.
Heart of the Game celebrates 45 years of football on television. Order now through i7sport.com.au and you'll receive free a CD of famous footy commentary. Heart of the Game, the book all footy fans are talking about.
Spiro has his choice of the best fish. For cats, that's Snappy Tom. This is top quality fish. A great catch, packed fresh. That's fresh, natural fish. So Spiro loves the taste. And I know that Snappy Tom has more protein and less fat than most other brands. Good choice, Spiro.
They're all of one voice. Snappy Tom.
John to control. Activating 12-hour shield.
Right. Lunch is on the way.
Food and drink are no match for Colgate Total's unique antibacterial shield.
Good job, Tom.
Colgate Total protects you for 12 hours even when you eat and drink.
Very tasty. No fat. And no added sugar.
What?
Barley and no fat. It's the answer to every girl's prayers.
You've just found out your parents have a secret.
My parents can't be spies. They're not cool enough.
But sometimes the biggest heroes come in small packages. Spy Kids is hitting cinemas next Thursday. That's only 9 days away. By calling 1902 555 628, you and your family could win a 6-night assignment in Los Angeles staying in Hollywood. Your mission? To have fun. Simply tell us how many days to go until Spy Kids is released in cinemas. Spy Kids, starring Antonio Banderas, in cinemas September 27.
If you make your mobile phone calls during the day in peak time, Orange Just Go has one low rate of 18 cents for 30 seconds. Go on, take the Orange Challenge and compare our rate. Call 133 188.
We stay tonight at the Blue Streak Motel in Woomera. The rays of the dying sun glinting and flickering in uneary patterns on the barbed wire of Woomera Detention Centre. Can Lee, you get a knock on the door. It's Yusuf. Can he talk to you?
Yes, of course.
He's not really a legal refugee. He was one of the people who escaped from Woomera in the breakout last year.
Right.
I had no idea the tour bus was coming to Woomera.
Yes.
He wants to keep out of sight. Can he stay in your room for 24 hours while the tour party's in town? Would you harbour him? It's a crime to harbour an escapee. Philip Ruddock has just announced a $10,000 reward for information leading to the recapture of escapees.
And what does he plan to do about his situation? He can't hide forever?
No, but he wants to hide for a little while, and he wants to hide in your room tonight.
Oh, no.
You could ring the police and get your $10,000 reward
No,
for
I
turning
won't
him
do
in.
that. I don't need the $10,000.
Or you could allow him to sleep in the spare bed in your room.
Tim, what do you think I should do? I do feel on the side of letting him stay, but I would prefer him to stay in your room.
He's sharing a room with Rusty Priest tonight.
Yeah?
So that's...
I didn't know. We're in a double bed at the moment, Rusty.
You come into town.
I think you've got to be
I'm on the floor and you're in the bed.
Absolutely. I think I'd advise you to be true to your own experience. You have been through something pretty similar, and your family has, and you know how people don't understand, so act consistently with those values.
Well, I would then let him stay.
Get Tim to marry you.
Not yet. There is something that he asks you to do, Tim Costello. He says, would you please take this note? And you're going to the camp tomorrow. You're having an official tour. Just ask for Ahmed, the brother of Yusuf, and give him this. It will make my family so relieved to know that I'm alive and well. Would you do that?
I would say to him, is he prepared to tell me what the note says? Presumably it's his own
written
language.
in Arabic.
Yeah.
Yes, he translates it for you. It just sends his love and tells them that they'll be united soon.
Absolutely. I think they deserve to know.
You go into the camp the next day. It looks very clean. It usually does when there's a minister visiting. The men are doing exercises. They're jumping over a wooden horse near the perimeter. You ask for Ahmed, the brother of Yusuf, and reads the note, and he's so grateful to you. He just asks for a minute to go and show it to Yusuf's children, and then he comes back with another note. He said, would you please take this back to Yusuf?
Well, same principles, ask him to translate it.
He translates it. He says, dear Daddy, we love you and missing you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
So you take that back to Yusuf.
Absolutely.
He's overjoyed when he gets it. Barry Jones, you take the bus out to fill it up with diesel. Aren't you worried about what you've seen today? This policy of mandatory detention introduced by your factional mate, Jerry Hand, back in 1992, a Labour policy. Was he right?
Well, speaking as a private citizen, not as a Labour Party apparatchik, I'd say he was profoundly wrong.
He was from your faction, and the ALP, the party where
It's my party, not my faction. I'm one of the small but perfectly formed independents. I think that if you look historically, we have been a country of immigrants. All of us, even the Aborigines, began somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We're big enough, we're confident enough, we're strong enough, and we're rich enough to be able to absorb numbers of people.
Well, there are your thoughts as you put the bus in the motel car park. You say goodnight to Yusuf. You never lock it. He usually sleeps in the bus. Funny thing, when you wake up next morning, the bus is gone. There's a radio story about a mass breakout at the camp. Refugees last seen travelling down the highway in a tour bus.
Flight to Egypt, I think, is the biblical text.
Yes. It must have been of enormous importance to Yusuf and Ahmed to exchange those notes.
Mea culpa, but better to err on the side of compassion than judgment.
You'll have that to console you with as you begin your sentence for aiding and abetting an escape. This means that it'll take a couple of days for a backup tour bus to be brought up from Melbourne. Jermaine Greer, you're back in Australia because, like a number of expatriates with the disastrous fall in the value of the Australian dollar, you've been able to purchase a little property just south of Alice Springs. You really want to get up to see your property. Will you hitch a lift?
It wouldn't worry me in the least. I think I'd feel safer walking up the Stewart Highway than I would walking down Regent Street.
Truck driver picks you up. His name's Bruce. He's one of Howard Sattler's regular listeners. You go off with Bruce up the Stewart Highway, while the rest of our tourists, Barry Jones, you organise taxis to take them out to the old rocket range, the Woomera rocket range. Remember that? Back in the 50s, run by English scientists from Salisbury and Porton Downs.
Well, that's where they had the, but they had chemical...
germ warfare. So it's still a fairly spooky place. You're not allowed out of the controlled area, so you split up in groups. Tim Flannery and Tan Lee and John Howard. John Howard's eager eyes pick up a rustle over in the mulga, a rat-like creature. You look at it through your binoculars. It's a curlipi, a desert bandicoot.
This would be astonishing news, yes. The species hasn't been seen for a century, so...
well, it's been seen now.
Yes, it'll be famous, yes.
It'll be very important to get closer, identify it. It's a playful little creature. It retreats as you get closer to it. Takes you beyond the controlled area.
I think that's the last thing I'd be thinking about. My eyes would be on the bandicoot, unfortunately.
Well, you go past, trespassers will be prosecuted. You don't
Most
see that?
likely, no, I would, yes.
Skull and crossbones.
Still looking at the bandicoot. This is very important stuff happening here, you see this?
Well, about an hour later, you finally capture the bandicoot.
Is this bandicoot a mutant bandicoot? Is it a radioactive bandicoot?
It looks to be perfectly normal.
It looks at this stage to
You've
be
never
perfectly...
seen one. How can you say that?
I've seen I've seen plenty of them in bottles of alcohol at the museum, and this one does look
But this one glows in the dark.
I hope for their sake it does, because it's getting dark. There's a sandstorm covering your footprints. Barry Jones, you've got the taxis waiting. Do you bother to count the tourists as they come back? Most tour operators don't.
Well, I think I'd have to sound the alarm. I'd ring the police and ring Channel 7.
Good thing.
The massive search is mounted. 2 days, the sandstorm rages. You've run out of water. You're starving. You're so hungry, you could eat a desert bandicoot.
You know, the bandicoot, it's about the only edible thing, apart from human beings.
But, John, this is part of Australia's natural heritage. It was thought to be lost. It might be the last individual. If we cook this, we'll lose all of that knowledge about...
And all of the story that you could tell about this last individual will be lost with us when we starve and perish in this desert.
Oh, we'll be right, mate. Don't worry.
But it's not edible anyway.
Oh, yes, it is.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. All of human knowledge is retained and told by humans, not bandicoots.
The 3 of them are lost, and after 3 days, it looks like curtains, and forward, the massive searchers can't find them. It's the #1 news story.
Oh, by a long way.
Young Australian of the Year,
Yes.
leading anthropologist, major actor. As the tour has been going on, you've taken some digital video of the tourists in their light-hearted moments. Channel 7 want to put it out on Today Tonight. Would you allow them to do that? Give them the private moments of your fellow tourists? It would be very distressing for Tan Lee's mum.
Oh, my goodness. That's a
Shouldn't
dilemma.
you should really ask
I don't think
their
I have
permission.
Oh, I would, certainly. Yes, I would.
But they're lost.
But they're lost.
It's got round the station that you've got these enormously valuable pictures.
Yes, well,
There's a ratings war on.
Yes, there is. But in the interests of my journalistic integrity, I'd feel just a bit...
What's that?
An oxymoron.
Next on Hypothetical, Germaine hits the road.
It's not the first time I've been in a truck with a Nazi.
The minister hangs tough.
He gets none of his demands.
And Bill Bryson puts his foot in it.
What's that you're standing in, Bill Bryson?
It's nothing to do with me.
Heartbreaks in the air, somewhere. The pain has come back again, and they tell me that I'm losing you. Ah, tell me that I'm losing you.
Take advantage of Diners Club's business card GST statement. Call 1300 136 478.
McLean's has a toothpaste that doesn't just whiten your teeth, it also protects them. McLean's Multi-Action Plus Whitening whitens teeth, plus fights cavities, plaque and tartar, plus freshens your breath. McLean's Multi-Action Plus Whitening for a strong white smile.
Annoying quibbles? Other cars have them, but not Daihatsu Sirion. With standard features like power steering, central locking, dual airbags, CD player, all for just $13,990 drive away. No quibbles. From Daihatsu, that's who.
Relax. Look at what they bought.
Hey, slacker!
I think my business partner wants me.
This is my last day.
Eddie?
Happy birthday!
I didn't know what to buy, so...
This should help with the IT course.
Anyone order a bear?
I did.
There is more to see at Video Easy. We have more copies of Proof of Life than any other video chain. More copies on video, more copies on DVD. There is more to see at Video Easy.
My knees.
My shoulder.
My teeth.
My back.
NRMA Health Insurance offers hospital and extras cover, so call 133 234 when your body needs H-E-L-P. Conditions and waiting periods apply.
Meanwhile, Germaine Greer, you're getting on very well with Bruce, the truck driver.
It's not the first time I've been in a truck with a Nazi, that's true. I would be trying to debrief him and gently point out to him that he was a murderous half-wit.
Well, the truck blows a tire just north of Cooper PD. You change it for him. He's mightily impressed.
I should think he would be, yes, indeed, and I probably would change it for him.
Well, you get to your property just south of Alice Springs. He looks at it, he says, well, Germaine, you've got crocodiles in your dams, you've got a few herds of wild buffalo. What do with a handyman, someone who's pretty handy with a rifle? I'm the founder of the shooters party. Maybe I should stick around.
I'd have to think of a way of getting rid of him. This mad bastard on my land. I mean...
Well, you become very friendly with him, and you've changed him. He's no longer a Nazi.
Oh, once a Nazi, always a Nazi. He's not going to fool me.
The truck is broken down, so he's got to stay there.
So now I've got to mend his bloody truck.
You do.
Typical.
You turn on the radio for the 7 o'clock news, and there's good news and bad news. The good news is that the 3 missing tourists have been found.
Oh, thank God.
Oh.
They're back at the Blue Streak Motel, recovering at this moment. The bad news is that the mystery buyer of Ned Kelly's heart has been revealed. He's a wealthy Englishman named Alan Bond. But he's prepared, he says, to give it back, make it a gift to the Australian people on 3 conditions. 1, that he gets a royal pardon. 2, that his prison paintings are exhibited at the National Museum. And 3rd, and most importantly, that he gets his Order of Australia back. It was taken away from him when he was convicted. Sounds quite reasonable, Peter McGoran?
No, to each of the 3 requests or demands.
Really? This Order of Australia, giving that back that sticks in the craw, doesn't it, Rusty Priest? You've got an Order of Australia.
Does the end prove the rule? I mean, we get Ned Kelly's heart back, and that's an integral part of our Australian history.
Absolutely.
There are much higher principles at stake here. The compromise, even the abandoning of long-held public principles. He gets none of his demands.
None of his demands at the moment. That's your position, not very popular in the community. But the bus must get on. We've got the backup bus, has arrived at last, which heads off up towards Alice Springs. Your tribe, Dawn Casey, live below Alice Springs. They've heard you're on the way. They've laid on a marvellous picnic banquet for you in an old meteor crater, not far from the Stuart Highway, in the shade of a hanging rock. You're mending the truck at the homestead, Germaine Greer, when Bruce rushes in, very excited. He says, "Germaine, there are trespassers down at the old meteor site. Quick, get the stock whip."
He's still a Nazi, isn't he?
He is at heart.
I'm not going to be able to get on with this bloke at all.
He's very concerned. He said it could be those Iraqi detainees. He jumps on a horse, gets his shotgun, races down to the old meteor crater at the bottom of your land. Dawn Casey, one of the elders of the tribe, says, "Quick, hide in here." There's a concealed entrance underneath the hanging rock into a cave. A few of them see you and follow you. The elder is very upset that you've come in. He takes you aside and says, "Look, you can shelter here, but this is a secret and sacred place. You must never reveal its existence to the outside world. Do you promise?"
Yes, I promise, yes.
You see the most extraordinary artwork. There are pictures of giant goannas, pictures then of men hunting them with woomeras. Evidence for your theory that it was hunting, not climate change, that caused the destruction of the mega predators.
I'm on the horns of a dilemma, Geoffrey. But I've been in that situation in New Guinea in tribal studies, and it's
very exciting to see these amazing artworks.
It's so important too that you respect those traditional cultures.
It is, but suddenly a volley of shots pierces the air. The reverberation of the shotgun causes a landslide at the end of the cave. You can see there's a large underground cabin. You move down there and you see in the riverbed a footprint. What is it?
It sounds like the footprint of a giant goanna.
20-foot high, flesh-eating goanna, where you get fossilized footprints of giant predators. You usually get fossilized droppings, the mega turds of the mega predators. What's that you're standing in, Bill Bryson?
It's nothing to do with me.
What do you do? I mean, you could go back to the cave and face being shot by Bruce the Nazi. You could go on and meet perhaps the ugliest prehistoric monster ever.
I'm going to stand firmly behind Tim Flannery.
You go back to the mouth of the cave where you discover that all is well. Bruce the Nazi recognized Howard Sattler by his voice. He discharged the gun to give a salute to his favorite talkback host. Meanwhile, Jermaine Greer, you've given up on the truck. You've been looking over some old maps of your property. Lassiter's last map, the map that was found beside his dead body in the desert. There is a theory that your property is where his lost reef really is. You look up as you hear the bus. You think you're seeing double because there are 2 Knowledge Nation tour buses pull up in the backyard. The first is driven by Yusuf. He says, Jermaine, we have heard how generous you've been to the homeless people in England. Can we stay? Will you allow us to sleep in the bunkhouse?
Yes, I would.
The next bus that turns up, your old friends, Bill Bryson wants a room where he can change his trousers. There's a big, black, waxy substance on them, smelling strongly of sulfur. Yusuf is very excited. He knows crude oil when he sees it.
No.
He was an engineer, remember, in Iraq, an oil engineer. You have solved the mystery of Lassiter's lost reef. The man was delirious, colorblind. What he saw was black gold.
Wonderful.
But no, I can't be. Because there is an oil exploration lease already issued on the property which has been done by the government and it isn't
That's
mine.
Right. It's Peter McGorran's.
Oh, no!
He is our Minister for Arts and Mines. Very important to get down there, drilling and blasting and...
Oh, that'd be the usual, of course, environmental assessments.
Yes. Well, Tim Flannery, you've taken that oath never to reveal the existence of the cave. You wouldn't break that oath, would you?
No, I wouldn't in that case.
Even though the minister will be down there dynamiting and drilling tomorrow. That will be the end of the evidence for your theory.
I don't think I could, in all conscience, no.
Anthony Mundine, how does it come down for you?
I'm the elder, right?
You are.
Okay. I'll probably keep it within the community and, for our people to build something on that.
But crude oil is $1 trillion industry. There's no way a few old cave drawings are going to stand in the way of exploiting it, is there?
Not necessarily so, depending on their cultural and sacred importance.
This dispute has become public, Howard Sattler. What are your listeners saying?
Bruce.
What's Bruce saying?
Bruce wants her to go for it and dig as much oil out as possible.
That's right.
And this is an election year too, so the government's going to go for it.
That's right. That's what's going to happen.
But Peter Costello now knows about it, so it's a goer.
Well, the Howard government are contemplating nationalising your land. The telephone rings. It's a call from Downing Street. Jermaine Greer, Mr. Blair wants to appoint you a baroness. Dame Germaine. Will you accept?
It's very tough. It's very tough because you do have a platform, you do have a right to represent people, and it would be one way, for example, of pleading the case for the recognition of Aboriginal ownership of Australia And so it would be a real problem for me, this one. I'll probably have to seek guidance. I might even have to go to the odd sacred site and have a bit of a sit.
Well, you're sitting down at the sacred site at the meteor crater. You're there, tribal elder. Do you have any advice to give Germaine as to whether she should accept the peerage?
I'd just probably say, don't accept it.
Don't accept it?
No.
Why not? Tell her.
Because I want her to stay there and marry me.
When we return, the evil mastermind strikes.
I'll do the worst thing you can possibly imagine.
The museum faces an awful choice.
Oh, that's a huge dilemma.
And Barry Jones runs out of space.
Where are you going to put them, Barry Jones?
Forget Survivor. Television's biggest new reality series surpasses it in spectacle. The most exhilarating new adventure will take you on a thrill ride around the globe.
Which way do we go?
11 teams of 2 in the ultimate race across the planet for $1 million.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. This ain't child's play.
From the pyramids of Egypt to the Colosseum of Rome and beyond. Hang on for the amazing race. Starts Monday, 9:30 on 7.
Brothers, sisters, mums and daddies, you haven't been to market till you've been a Paddy's. Get down to the markets, the shopping is the greatest. There's just about everything you can imagine. It's the biggest and the best, beautiful prices on.
Paddy's Haymarket open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday and all public holidays. Paddy's Flemington open Friday and Sunday. Phone the info line 1300 361 589.
You shouldn't have to settle for short-lived relief from heartburn. Today, Brand Power looks at why people are turning to Gaviscon. It provides fast relief that lasts. Here's how. It soothes quickly after swallowing and helps stop acid rising into the food pipe by forming a protective barrier. Compare Gaviscon to the relief you're getting now and see for yourself how much longer it lasts. For quick and lasting relief from heartburn, try Gaviscon at your supermarket or pharmacy. Brand Power, helping you buy better.
In case you haven't heard, Kia's big price reductions have been extended. So hurry in to save $3,000 on the 7-seat V6 Carnival with air. Only $29,990. Kia's unheard of prices.
Get down and stay down. Unlike antacids, a single Zantac tablet can give you freedom from heartburn and indigestion all day or all night. Zantac Relief at your pharmacy now.
Just how powerful are Omo laundry tablets? Introducing Omo high-performance tablets, a detergent so infused with stain-fighting power, it's as if dirt never happened at all. Omo high-performance tablets.
And I bought a $2 scratchy. I got $2, so I decided I'd buy two $1 ones. When I was scratching, I got $1,000. Paid a few bills, that's for sure.
Scratch me happy, yes!
My knees.
My shoulder. My teeth.
The back. NRMA Health Insurance offers hospital and extras cover, so call 133-234 when your body needs H-E-L-P. Conditions and waiting periods apply.
Get down to Paddy's Markets and you could win one of 2 Hyundai Accent Sprints with CD, rear spoiler and alloy wheels. Free gift with each entry. Phone the info line 1300 361 589. Conditions apply.
Haven't been to market till you've been to Paddy's.
Blackadder's all at sea.
Someone in the crew will know how to steer this thing. What crew? Bugger.
Blackadder set sail. Next.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tour has ended. Our tourists tip the driver and go back to their families and their jobs. Bond is turning nasty. He says, if you turn me down, I'll do the worst thing you can possibly imagine. I'll donate Ned Kelly's heart to the National Museum of New Zealand.
Well, that might reverse the population flow a little by way of tourism.
It might. He donates it to the National Museum. The curator gives you a call, Dawn Casey, says, what about a swap? You give us Farlap's heart, and you can have Ned Kelly's heart.
Oh, that's a huge dilemma. That is a big dilemma.
I don't know what you're doing talking about Ned Kelly. Alan Bond's a much bigger bandit. I'd be getting his heart, getting to will his heart to us.
He might just do that.
Why not get a fresher one and get Scacey?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the election takes place. Labour government sweeps to power. It says sorry to the Aborigines. It says sorry to the refugees. It says sorry to Germaine Greer for nationalising her property and for leasing it to Exxon in a $1 trillion deal. It says sorry to all Australian expatriates and invites them back to join Knowledge Nation, funded by trillions of petrodollars. They all come back. All 830,000 Australian expatriates flood back. Where are you going to put them, Barry J?
Well, Pauline Hanson offered to be the mother of the nation, remember?
She's married Bruce the truckie. Well, ladies and gentlemen, tune in next week for our next episode of Celebrity Survivor, the reality television program which has followed our guests from the moment they stepped on the bus. Thank you all.
Geoffrey Robertson returns next week with a host of stars, including Lisa McCune and Gretel Killeen. Coming up next on 7, Rowan Atkinson in Blackadder 2.
This program proudly brought to you by the new Commodore Series 2.